Welcome to Anderson in Focus with CLA, where Anderson comes into clear view. We're Community Lens of Anderson, a grassroots crew digging into what's happening behind the headlines, from budgets and public safety to social justice, civic engagement, and the folks making change happen right here at home. Real talk, real people, real impact. Let's zoom in. All right, we're back at it, and we are now going to move on. Couple of disclaimers. We love to say this at the beginning of our podcast. It's been a long day, folks.
Yes.
We have gotten some updates and recaps out there all the way up through February 12th City Council meeting. And so we want to remind you that we are giving a very high level overview of what is said at the meetings and kind of the opportunities where patrons have spoken their concerns and asked questions. So we do our best to do a very high level recap. And again, we ask that if we make any blaring mistakes or if there are any necessary corrections, please reach out to us on our Facebook page. We are not too proud to come back and correct things or make those changes as needed. So what we are going to attempt to do in this podcast is we're going to bring us up to speed to February 19th, which is the most recent City Council meeting that actually went through the voting process to put these rate increases in motion. So Angie, help me verbalize this as we kind of get there.
Okay. So I happened to be out of town this week. I was in Oakland doing some training. And so sometimes I just have to accept that, my voice was not needed in this conversation this week. And so that's okay. And so I don't know what happened at the public hearing because it was 3.5 hours and I just haven't had the time to consume that.
Well, and here's the thing. I attended the public meeting, public hearing, rather. It was a special meeting for that purpose. But because I was so engrossed in the conversation and part of the public hearing that I don't take the kind of notes that Angie does. And I didn't prepare in delivering any kind of recap. And you probably wouldn't have wanted me to anyway. That's definitely Angie's wheelhouse. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just kind of fill in a couple of things that I new bits of information I got on February 17th. And then I'm going to just hand it over to Angie, and she's going to take us right into the 19th.
Okay. I did watch the 19th. It was an hour and a half. So I was able to watch that and make some notes based on that. And so 3.5 hours, I'm expecting that there were a lot of comments from the public then in that time period.
Well, there was definitely a period for public comment. I was surprised that the bulk of the meeting, at least the first 2.5, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes worth, was somewhat of a representation of from the mayor, from our city attorney, Tim Lannon, as well as our consultants, Crow, I believe is their last name, Crow Consultants. They were really instrumental in, again, presenting all of the reasons why a rate increase was necessary.
Wow, that's a long time to wait when you have something that you want to say.
It was. Unfortunately, the room was full.
Okay, good.
And by the end of the first couple of hours, I would say perhaps a third had left. Mm-hmm. And we understood because that can be a long time to wait. You could tell there were individuals that were really ready to share their thoughts. Once we were able to get to the public hearing portion, there were a lot of rules that were kind of put in place that aren't typically as strict. And a couple of those included, there was definitely adhering to the 3-minute rule. There was a sign-in sheet. Everyone had to at least put their name and address on that sheet and at least introduce themselves and their zip code before speaking. and everyone was kind of dismissed or called up by rows.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's
was
orderly.
different. Yeah. So not to have, a bunch of congestion by the podium. There were a couple of takeaways that I'll just share again at a very high level. Some common themes from the 17th. There was a real high sense of urgency that was conveyed by the mayor and all of the presenters. We also heard from the department head of the electric utility, who spoke about all the capital improvements that were going to be necessary to get our infrastructure up to speed. Not quite as much, but some other projects based on the sewage and water infrastructure was mentioned. But at the end of the day, the pervasive theme was this is urgent. We need this increase to happen to make us good on the bonds that we have out currently. In other words, our books need to be stronger and in the black, if you will, so that we can make good on our bonds and continue to get good borrowing rates on our bonds. And so this was really a dire situation. And that theme was kind of played out over and over. There were some good questions. I think for most of us, we finally realized that part of the increases are not only to make our utility whole and solvent again, but it's also to build in some infrastructure and capitable. Sorry, let's try it a third time. I'm not going to be doing
Capital.
First of all, let me pick a thing.
There you go.
So these projects definitely were built in to this increase. And so what I would encourage everyone to do is to get online, perhaps maybe look to see if they have posted the packets that they passed out at this meeting. If not, those packets may be able to be picked up or at least requested through the city clerk, Sheila Ashley. And in here is everything broken down from the projects to the consultants' estimates of what we needed to recapture with these rate increases. We ask a couple of questions at the meeting. If we have a rainy day fund, can we use that to pay off the bonds that are currently in place? Really, the answer is no. That money, once it's set aside in the operational or rainy day fund, it can't be used to pay debts in the utility unit. Also, based on the most recent financing of the bonds, in that last deal, we as a city promised not to pay these bonds off early.
Interesting.
So that was something that was a takeaway for me. But before I mess up any words or get into the weeds too much, I'm going to pass this over. And so fast forward, we had our public hearing, and then we had, as planned, the February 19th, which was the night on which these rates were to be voted.
So I want to back you up just a little bit, if that's okay.
Please.
Were there any citizens who spoke that stood out to you and, as something unique that was asked or that you'd like to highlight?
There were. I think there was one particular citizen that was concerned that some of the meters that were in place that would either, give an accurate reading or not of her electric use, which, by the way, this wasn't just about sewage and water. This was also about electric rates. And so there was a lot of information. Mm-hmm. And so hoping that the units on our homes are accurate and those meter readings were really reflective of the use was one of the concerns.
Right.
And so we had another gentleman that was very concerned about, well, if we're going to spend all of this money on capital projects, I said it, then we need to be able to, kind of see the progress. And that dashboard idea was brought forth again.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, we had a city council person who kind of didn't really get the idea of a dashboard. And so one of the colleagues there, another city council person, I believe it was Tiffany Harless, said she would really enjoy having a dashboard so that not only could we see progress, but also she could speak to her colleagues from other cities about how we're doing.
That's important.
Yeah.
It's not just for the citizens, but also for the elected and appointed officials who are serving.
So I think those were some good takeaways, good questions about if you're on a well versus on a septic system. And so, again, they answered those pretty well. Most of the increases you'll see in the packet or online, and you should have gotten a mailer, I think, if you are going to be affected by the rates, to kind of see approximately what your increases are going to be. So I thought they did a nice job giving a bunch of information. I wouldn't give them an A+ on the public hearing part.
Right.
But it did take place, and we were heard.
Good. And I'm only assuming that there were new voices at the podium, which is incredible.
Yes.
Exciting. So.
Yes. And I wouldn't pretend to have taken their names, but there were definitely at least 5 different individuals that I had not seen before.
Okay, good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to the 19th.
Okay, so tell us, so once that public hearing took place, then let's fast forward then 2 days later. What happened?
Okay, so there was a very brief review because this information has been put out there. January 22nd was the first special meeting about these rate increases. And so if you're new to this conversation, I would encourage you to look up that podcast, and then you can have all the basis of what that original presentation was. Mm-hmm. And then we're just kind of adding things that have been brought up since that point. So Mayor Broderick, well, I do want to say the same rules that you had mentioned for the 17th, President Graham must have liked that because he did the exact same thing on the 19th.
Okay.
So that was nice. There were a few seats empty. Councilor Culp, Councilor Dixon were absent from the meeting, and Councilor Landers was attending by Zoom. Okay. So it seemed a little sparse in the room, but there was a quorum. There were enough people there. And Mayor Broderick started things out just by, again, giving a little bit of an overview. But it's interesting because not having been at the meeting on the 17th, I could detect a little something different in his tone and in the way he was presenting, as if to kind of explain the sense of urgency that was expressed and stating that it was not meant to be taken as being aggressive or being heavy-handed. And so I'm glad to kind of get that kind of insight
context,
from you. Yeah, the context from you about that, because I thought, okay, that's interesting. It must have really...
Well, and several people on the 17th did bring that up when they came to the podium, this fear tactic. I'll tell you somebody who really spoke pretty directly to Councilman Graham, and it was a little bit of a heated exchange, and that was Rob Joswiak.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And he just blatantly said, "Look, this is not about all the things that you've presented tonight. This is about poor management." Okay. And so there were some strong criticisms by a couple of people of that nature.
Right. And yes, and he expressed those same thoughts as well on the 22nd. So I'm familiar with what you're saying. And I guess some things we will never know.
Yeah.
So we have to just move forward with what we can do now. Mm-hmm. But the mayor did just want to reiterate that there is a sense of urgency, which of course we all know about. And that's, to me, that's not the way we want to make big decisions about our city.
No.
Is with the sense of urgency that we have to make a decision or else we're going to fail. And that there's only one decision to be made. There's not another option. I do want to address a comment that the mayor made during his presentation. And I understand and I believe that all departments are doing everything they can to minimize the amount that the rate hike needed to be. I mean, I truly do believe they are going down that path. But he did make a comment that because the rates are still going to be in the lower third when you compare us to other municipalities, that most of the citizens of Anderson can handle that. They'll be fine. And I just thought that was a little odd, because when you look at the data of Anderson Township, 53% of our residents are ALICE. And what that means is they are asset limited, income constrained, but employed, or I shouldn't say but, and employed, which means that they are living off of a survival budget or below. Like, they are making choices every week, every month on what can I pay, what's most urgent to pay, and what can I put off until the next time and still get by and survive. 53%
Wow.
of Anderson Township live like this. And the vast majority of our female-led households with children, like 76% of them are in this position.
Wow.
So I don't, and when Mr. Janak made a similar kind of comment before about this just being a math problem, this is not just a math problem, and people aren't just going to be fine. This is real. When somebody's rates or bills are going up by $20 maybe a month, that's the difference between being able to provide something for your child or not. That is going to have an impact on our community. So while I agree that this has to be done, I'm in that camp, I would like to see more empathy from our leaders and understanding of truly where the majority, 53% is the majority of our citizens in Anderson Township anyway, that I forgot what I was going to say, of where they really live. I mean, what they are experiencing day in and day out. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you too, on the 17th, this very subject was really a trigger point for Councilwoman Harless. You know, I think between she and Councilman Graham, basically talking about, you know, there are some programs to help with discounts and different things that utility departments can do, and applying for EAP programs and different things. But she was pretty knowledgeable to say, hey, these programs that you speak of, they're pretty strict in terms of qualifying for them. And we're really missing kind of a swath of individuals that may not qualify, but still be living within this ALICE kind of framework. And so I appreciated her comments in that regard.
Yeah, she definitely is living this every day in the role that she plays in the trustee office.
Okay.
So I appreciate her comments as well. That's like almost a decade ago. City Attorney Tim Lannon spoke as well, just to talk a little bit or reiterate some points that had been made about the need for the combined sewer overflows that are needing to be, I just call them remediated. I don't know if that's the right word. And clarifying that it wasn't specifically the fish kill. Last time I had said it was because of the fish kill and this consent decree, and I had misunderstood perhaps what the mayor had described when he was giving that part of his presentation. So, but the CSO changes were something that the EPA was working on and encouraging prior to the fish kill. And so it just kind of, they ended up happening concurrently. So he clarified that and talked about a few other things. And really, from there, I just would like to highlight a few of the public comments, if that's okay.
Oh, I'd love to hear.
Okay. So again, there were a lot of new faces, people that I have not seen come up to the podium before, which was wonderful. And one of the comments was from Mr. Mike Geringer, who did speak at the last meeting that I was at. And he had this idea that I'm really just enthralled with, actually. And he opened his comments by saying that he would like for us to focus on practicality and not ideology, and use the movement of the White River to our benefit. So there's something called low head generators, which I've never heard of before. That is basically a process where water flows through I don't know, some contraption perhaps, and a screw turns and electricity is produced. I mean, it's that simple, Kelly. Right.
Okay.
And so basically we are using the resources God blessed us with to create a resource that we need every day to run our city and our daily lives. And he had examples of other municipalities that have adopted this low-head generators: Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, Indiana, Muncie, Rockford, Illinois. So those are some cities that I think are very comparable to Anderson, and like I said, have been using this. And his suggestion was, hey, let's not jump into this. Let's do a feasibility study to see if it makes sense for our community. And if it does, then perhaps it's something that we could look into further. And anyways, Councilor Graham, as he is good at doing, connected him with the sewer superintendent to chat about that some more. Yes. Or actually, it would probably be the water department, not the sewer.
Bill,
because
McGee,
or who? It might be all of them, really, because we're using water to produce electricity.
Oh my goodness! Well, I don't know. It kind of touches all three, huh?
Anyway, Councilor Graham was trying to connect him with the department heads that perhaps he could talk about that with further, that understand it more than myself.
This is I appreciate your very simple explanation, because I could kind of imagine, but what I was going to point out is that President Graham has really done a nice job, I think, of at least, I'm not there for the follow through. I don't know if all connections are made, quickly, but he really makes an attempt to try to connect to individuals or get phone numbers, and says, we're going to find the answer and try to get back with you, which is kind of new.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, and sorry, I keep calling you counselor, and it's President Graham.
Well, I do a little bit of both. I'm not good with titles, and so I apologize ahead of time.
So sorry about that, President Graham. I would say the majority of the other residents that spoke up kind of had this overarching theme of, okay, we get it. This money, these rates have to increase. We're going to have to pay more money in our monthly bills. But please, please be good stewards of the money that you're going to be receiving. Mm-hmm. We don't want to pay for services where our electric is going out every 2 times a week. Mm-hmm. That was Stephanie May Stennis was that was her main comment. She's like, I work from home. When my internet's out, I can't get paid. Mm-hmm. So when her electric goes out, she's on her own. And others as well were just stating how they don't mind the increase, but they don't want brown water.
Yeah, right.
Let's make sure that we are addressing the issues, which I can only imagine that they would be, but it's still, I'm glad that these comments are on the record as to state as such that that is the expectation.
Absolutely.
And really, I do want to say, Lindsey Brown had a good comment. He says, yes, it needs to happen, but we need to have something set up, like some sort of a program to help those who are Alice, the 53% of people who are barely making it. Mm-hmm. We need, we do have the trustee's office and there are other organizations, but we as the city also need to be somehow a part of that process.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that would look like, but I hope that there are people that are able to, come up with something.
Like almost a budget like we do with our gas bills. Something of that nature, or a step-up program, or something that eases folks into their fair share.
Right. That's a good point. And he did bring up budgeting, because currently, if you are an all-electric home, you can get on an electric budget.
Okay.
But I don't think they offer that for water or sewer. So, but yes, or the step-up, that would be another great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Lindsay was also at the meeting on the 17th, so I think he proposed some of that idea as well.
Okay, yeah. And so really, I don't have a whole lot of other comments other than the vote for all 4 ordinances, because there was a vote for a bond and a vote for a rate increase for both the sewer and the electric. All 4 were passed with a 6-1 vote, with Councilor Harless standing firm on things that she has said in previous meetings, that that she just does not see the justification. She sees the need, but she feels that there are other ways that this money can be obtained or brought in, or she would like that conversation to be had a little longer. So,
well, it makes the difference, and we heard that on the 17th, and it maybe a little bit on the 19th, that there's this sense of urgency too, that we want to maintain our locally owned utilities, and that by going not so much in default, but just not being in good standing based on the finances, perhaps being turned over to a corporate utility. And so there is, that was said a lot on the 17th. And so I would have to do some research to really understand what that would look like, and really would that take place. We had not just City Attorney Lannon, but an additional attorney that really kind of hammered that home.
Okay.
And wish I could remember I've heard of his agency, but the point being is that there were plenty of voices from the administrative side saying this is dire. So, we are where we are, and now it's a matter of hopefully we see these projects in action, we get improved service, and we get up to speed the way we need to for our growth here in the city.
Right. And, moving forward, I guess after reflecting on all of this, I mean, this has been quite a little run with the talk of the rate increases. I just want to encourage people to, take care of your neighbors out there, because people, we're in a tough spot. And some people are in tougher spots than others. And so if you have the opportunity to lend a hand to someone you see struggling, I just would encourage that.
Yeah, well said. Good. Even the simple things, if you have some plumbing knowledge, help somebody stop a leak. Things like that. Every little bit counts.
Yeah, let's try to, just be a good neighbor.
I like it. Well, we want to mention a couple of things. We've mentioned some upcoming meetings, which may have already passed by the time you would listen to this, but just pay attention. Our next city council meeting is March 12th. And so you can certainly look on the Agenda Center at the City of Anderson's website. You can sign up to be notified up in the right-hand corner. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to Community Lens of Anderson. You can direct message us through Messenger on Facebook. We are working to have a little bit more active email, but that takes a volunteer, and most of us have day jobs, so we're doing our best. We also want to be looking to hear more about our voter guide. That should be coming up at the end of March, by March 31st. Both Heartland of Indiana United Way, Heart of Indiana United Way, both Anderson and Muncie offices are working with Community Lens of Anderson to produce voter guides for you, the voter, to kind of review the candidates, and we're going to have more information on that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that I don't know if you all saw in the news, but I'd like you to be thinking about our own city property here, the mall that's Mounds Mall is what I'm trying to say. This brought it to my attention, a recent article of the Muncie Mall. I guess the owner of that property is looking to actually demolish and reimagine that space.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I just, let's pay attention. Let's have our ears to the ground and maybe see if this is something we can consider here in Anderson. So more to come on that. And as always, we encourage your ideas. So if you have some ideas for future podcasts, or you'd like to recommend a topic to us, please again reach out to Community Lens of Anderson.
Sounds good.
All right. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.